Before I begin, a quote to remember. Life is like climbing a mountain. It's never easy, but every step takes you closer to the top. Now let me tell you the story of a man who discovered the true meaning of strength while climbing his greatest challenge. In a village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling lake, lived a young man with a heart full of dreams. Unlike the other villagers who found contentment in their simple lives, he yearned for more, for something that lay beyond the horizon. His gaze was set on the highest mountain in the land, a peak so remote and shrouded in mist that it seemed almost divine. The mountain was not just a geographical landmark. It was a symbol of the unknown, of challenges and triumphs. From as far back as he could remember, he had felt an inexplicable pull towards the mountain. Its rugged slopes and sheer height both fascinated and intimidated him. The villagers, with their deep-rooted traditions and cautious ways, had never ventured so far from their sheltered valley. For them, the mountain was a formidable giant, a silent sentinel that demanded respect and obedience. They had passed down stories of its dangers, of treacherous paths and sudden storms, that could turn a hopeful climb into a desperate fight for survival. Because of these tales, the mountain had become a forbidden realm, a place where only the brave or the foolish dared to tread. Despite the warnings and the doubts that echoed in his ears, the young man's resolve only grew stronger. He couldn't shake off the feeling that his destiny was somehow linked to the mountain. Perhaps there was a piece of his soul waiting to be found at its peak, or maybe his spirit was destined to soar as high as the clouds that kissed its summit. Whatever the reason, he knew he had to try. One day, he announced his decision to the villagers. His voice, though quiet, carried the weight of his conviction. "I'm going to climb the mountain." The villagers gasped, their eyes wide with disbelief and worry. Their protests were like stones hurled at his path, but he remained steadfast. "I may fail," he admitted, "but at least I will have tried." And with that he set out on his journey. He left behind the familiar streets and the watchful eyes of the villagers, each step taking him further into the unknown. The initial part of the climb was relatively easy. He scrambled over rocks and fallen trees, his heart pounding with excitement and a touch of fear. As the day wore on, the path became more treacherous. The rocks turned to loose shale and the air grew thin and cold. Yet the young man pressed on. As evening fell, he found a spot to rest, pulling out the blanket he had brought with him. The vastness of the sky above and the mountainous imposing presence all around him filled him with awe and a deep sense of solitude. In the stillness of the night, his doubts crept in. Why was he doing this? Was he foolish to ignore the warnings of the elders? Would he be known as the fool who ventured too far and never returned? Overwhelmed by these thoughts, he almost gave up. Then he looked up at the sky. Above him, the stars twinkled like distant flames, guiding and encouraging him. It was then he understood. This was not just about reaching the top. It was about the journey, about facing his fears and pushing his limits. The mountain had become a metaphor for his life, and he realized that life wasn't about avoiding challenges. It was about embracing them. With renewed strength, he stood up, brushed the dirt from his clothes, and started climbing again. The next morning, when the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and red, he reached the summit. The view was breathtaking, but the victory was bittersweet. His body ached, his hands were blistered, and his feet were cut and bruised. But it was all worth it. As he descended the mountain, he carried with him not just the memory of a great adventure, but a profound sense of self-discovery. He had faced the giant, and the giant had fallen. When he returned to the village, the villagers gathered around him, their faces a mix of admiration and concern. He had changed. He was not the same young man who had left a few days before. The mountain had tested him, challenged him, and in doing so, had revealed his true strength and resilience. And so the story of the young man who climbed the forbidden mountain became a legend in the village. A reminder that sometimes our greatest challenges are also our greatest opportunities for growth. Now, my friends, let me ask you, what mountains are you facing in your life? What challenges seem too big, too daunting? Remember the young man's story. The greatest view often comes after the hardest climb. Keep going. Don't give up. Your strength is within you, and you are capable of achieving the seemingly impossible. Believe in yourself, embrace your challenges, and never stop climbing. That's all for today. See you next time.